Welcome to the People Leaders Podcast, the audio resource for managers and business leaders creating high-performing teams. Join leadership and team development experts Jan and Michelle Turkelson each week as they explore both subjects from every angle. Through practical tips, valuable insights, and compelling interviews with leadership experts around the world, you'll learn how to bring out the best in your staff and how to give your best as a leader.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the People Leaders Podcast. I am flying solo today, and as you know, when I fly solo, I always have some wonderful, interesting guests on, and this is definitely one of them. And we've actually got two people who are coming on, which I'm really excited about. So I'd like to introduce you to them. Hardik is the founder and CEO of SEES and has a passion for people, processes, and technology. He believes in the combined potential of the three to transform the world. Hardik enjoys working with passionate people who believe in the power of possibilities, who carry the passion for tech and have a deep desire to make work and life better. Well, he is definitely someone that we want to hear from. And also, Hardik is the global CEO of SEES. And then we've got the country manager of Australia and New Zealand, who is also going to join us, and that's Adrian too. So good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. And now some people are actually going to be listening to this in the afternoon, evening, or, in their bathtub. So, welcome to anyone who is doing whatever they're doing, listening to podcasts, and anyone who is listening to podcasts, especially in this area, are interested in growth and development of themselves, their team, or their organization. And so this is why we want to get as much information to you as possible. So Hardik, let's just jump in. I'm really interested, like when you say that, the combined potential of people, processes, and technology have that potential to change the world. We totally see this from small businesses right through to, large organizations. But what I am interested in is leadership as well. And so being the head of such an organization, what changes are you seeing in your industry in particular as it relates to leadership?
Well, thank you for that question, and thank you for having me here. This is very, very relevant currently. Every industry is going through phenomenal changes. In our industry, which is primarily in the cloud, AI, consulting, high-end professional services, there is a lot of change that happens every week. Every week, there is a new technology that comes out. There is a new service. There is a new way of doing things that gets into action. Either one of the hyperscalers, either Google, AWS, any of these partners come up with some kind of a technology that really transforms the ability for a business to do a particular business process much, much, much better. And this is having your eyes and ears open to what's possible is something which is a very important need of the current leadership in our industry. The need to learn and adapt and listen to those changes, observe and kind of adapt super fast has always been the need for any successful leader. But it's all the more a case for our industry, primarily because there are a lot of things that change every week and every month. And a lot of businesses get disrupted. There are new kinds of startups that emerge. And it's just the adaptability to changes is one of the important traits that I continue to see in the leadership that becomes successful.
Oh, absolutely, Hardik. And Deloitte have done some research around, what are those top skills that are needed. And one of them is that adaptability and flexibility, because as we know, change is the new normal. Adrian, I'm interested from your perspective, being the country manager of Australia and New Zealand. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that around leadership?
Yeah, what we're seeing is, I guess, from the post-pandemic era, the rise of community-based leadership. And I guess what we're seeing is organizations coming together to solve the same business challenge. So very interesting perspective in terms of seeing, the rate of change is phenomenal, as Hardik mentioned. And what we're seeing is the ability for multiple organizations to come together to really drive efficiencies through solving challenges for both organizations. We've also seen productivity tool integration across business units and partners and technologies solve a lot of the issue. It is very prevalent at the moment that cloud adoption is no longer fashionable, but mandatory for driving business efficiencies for digital transformation agendas, and that's common across the globe. So they're probably the key things that we're seeing.
Beautiful. And then from someone, who doesn't own a global organization or is part of that, just having multiple partners, where you can actually come and collaborate and, whether or not it's similar industries, obviously that's where you can share that product tool integration. However, if you're a service industry, that's a way that, people can really collaborate. And I think that's one of the key skills as well, collaboration, that's going to be really important. So what tools and skills do you think leaders need to be aware of, knowing that, there is such an incredible rate of change and expectation around innovation? So Hardik, can I start with you and then I'll ask Adrian to comment?
Thank you. The demographics of the current workforce is changing very, very fast. It's also becoming multicultural, multi-generational, and the ability to communicate across and connect with people across different geographies, across different cultures, across different generations. It's very, very important. So some of the digital collaboration tools that CERS advocates for this, and we also are one of the largest partners for Google Workspace and some of the other tools that we use. We have built our own platform called Happier Work Platform, which is an HR software as a service platform. Enabling some of these skill sets is something that we continue to see a greater and greater adoption for. Awareness of some of these new technologies is one thing, but being able to connect the technologies with the right application areas across different parts of the business is the other dimension that is becoming all the more critical and important. And that's the reason why I do feel that leaders who have that skill set to be able to have the applied tech mindset are the ones who are growing much faster and smarter than the others.
Love that. Thank you. I'm just taking notes. Thank you. And Adrian, is it any comments or additions to that?
Yeah, I'd suggest that extremely strong social listening skills and building a resilient mindset is mandatory for the leader of today. And access to diverse thinking and nurturing growth in others is critically important with any leadership role. And also promoting a culture that celebrates success and failures shows the true intent to launch a problem and build from those experiences. CERS is a wonderful example in terms of building and sharing knowledge across the organization. We have an open platform that, we share wins, losses, improvements, suggestions. So we harness the ability to draw upon the skill sets of our global workforce to accelerate improvements throughout our organization. So really important that every voice is heard, and we take the good and the bad, and we build upon our successes and try to accelerate our growth.
And this is what I love, is that it's not only that you espouse that, but you have created a process and an environment that is working towards the behaviors that you want to observe and see. And I think, when you get the people and the processes, and obviously what you were talking about, the technology integrated, that's when you can embed it, like you can really see it in the culture. So it becomes enculturated. And that's what is, very powerful. So were there any hiccups with this open platform of sharing wins, losses, mistakes, and things like that? Because I can imagine, people want to promote their strengths and, what they're doing well. How was that managed?
We have open groups where mistake makers are celebrated, actually. So experiments are encouraged, and people who make mistakes, we have this philosophy of blameless root cause analysis, and we have like every major meeting that we go to is followed by what could we have done better. And there is and it starts with the leader in the room admitting first as to what is it that they could have done better. And when it begins with that kind of a mindset, then people start becoming more open to accepting that the leader is a human as well, and I can be human too, essentially.
Awesome.
And I think that's the direction in which we have kind of done this, and there are quite a few such rooms which just discuss how can we become better, how can we solve better.
Thank you. And Adrian?
Look, I think Hardik has summed it up very well. Having that right level of agility and empowerment to not be shot down in a safe place is very important for our people. And that's how we learn, that's how we grow, and that's how we build a community of respectful employees that want to do the best by the organisation and want to personally see their own development. So it's a very empowering organisation to be a part of.
Oh, it sounds it. And the thing, because one of the questions I was going to ask is, can you share some examples of how you create a constructive workplace culture? And the fact that leaders share first is very powerful, especially when you're sharing vulnerabilities or mistakes or things that, haven't worked, because then, like you said, Hardik, that it shows that they're vulnerable and they don't always have the answers. I love the fact that you have feedback and constructive feedback at the end of meetings. What could we have done better? Because again, you've baked the process into the way in which you operate. And the fact that you said that experiments are celebrated, and you really mean it, because that's the thing about making mistakes. It shows that you've never done it before. That's why you've made a mistake. So there is something, that pushes those boundaries. Okay, so just a curly question here, Hardik. So experiments are celebrated, and mistakes are, obviously part of that process. What if someone keeps on making the same mistake?
It's a very, very, very good question. Either the skill sets are not right or the role is not right in that case, and we try and figure out a way in which we could enable that individual with learning. So there is a learning enablement team. Additionally, there could be the role not being right, because there are some people who are not meant to do certain things, and they are just cannot ask a zebra to do the job of an elephant and things like that. And then so we need to figure out as to how do we assign the right roles to the individuals such that they could make less mistakes. But the overall philosophy is encourage experiments, celebrate mistakes, and the passion is always required while we are continuing to do this. So if the outcome mindset exists in the individual, the person who is making the mistake is self-aware and is already needing a lot of help because of the fact that there is an ownership mindset. And that's the kind of people that we try and bring in and give them with more responsibility than what they've done in the past, so that they can continue to grow and learn.
Thank you. So I'm interested in what CIS does, but how does it really enable business leaders to succeed? What is the connection? Why would I be interested as a leader or a business owner?
The primary reason why this is important is because there is no other better option. Things are going to change. Things are going to evolve. People are going to make mistakes. Why not encourage thinking bolder? Why not encourage the ability for people to take those big, hairy, audacious goals? And then that's the direction in which we are building the culture of trying to do things faster, smarter, better. Just in the next few weeks, actually, in the next 4 weeks, we are having this summit called EVLOS Summit, which is EVLOS, which is solve spelled backwards. And the whole theme of the summit is that it's going to be real people, real technology, real conversations, and intelligent outcomes. There is no BS. No bad stuff. People are essentially, we try and create an environment where there are solvers and not just the ribbon cutters on the stage. And we create an environment wherein we want to encourage the real solvers to share those stories, which may have succeeded or failed. It could be a failure or a success. But we are going to celebrate the failures as well in that summit. And the meaning of EVLOS is primarily to solve things differently. How have you solved things differently? Did you try and attempt to solve things smarter, faster, better?
So when is the summit happening? And is this for all CS employees or?
It is for business leaders, C-level founders, tech leaders, as well as engineering leaders, transformation consultants. It's for our customers, for companies that have tried to solve things differently. It's happening on 9th of December. It's happening in Bangalore in India, and it's going to happen in Singapore, and then in Australia, and then in UK and in the US. So it's a series of the first part of the series that we are starting in India. And it's a fantastic opportunity for the solvers to connect with each other and share their mistakes.
Yeah, I love that terminology, solvers. Yeah. Adrian, is there anything that you would like to add to that?
No, look, I think we embrace the ability to be brave and also to fail fast. So a couple of points there in terms of, we are in an industry that has phenomenal light speed change. And as Hardik mentioned, the amount of services that are launched every week, it's very hard to keep up with it. So in terms of the evolution, people will try, test. It may work, it may not work, but what is critically important is the ability to fail fast and to make adjustments and changes along the way. So we embrace that, wholeheartedly, and I think we celebrate that in terms of everyone really driving to see how far we can push the envelope.
Okay, so if there is this sense of, people have that ability to fail fast and there's an iterative approach, what happens to all those perfectionists in an organization? How do you manage them? Because I imagine in tech we have, some people who are quite driven by that perfectionistic style. Have you seen that? Can you give us an idea of how you would manage that? So, Adrian, if we go to you first and then we'll go to Hardik.
Yeah, sure. Well, a lot of technologists are stimulated by learning and development. So critically important, we provide all of our people with success paths and also learning and development capabilities that allow them to flourish in our environment. We also work very hard to celebrate successes that we have across the globe. So, we have a framework where we have global delivery models. And with that, it allows us to build repeatable solutions that are not only applicable to a certain vertical or customer segment, but a lot of those solutions that we build are replicated in many different verticals in different geographies. So, again, we allow people to flourish, we allow people to succeed and grow. And, we've had phenomenal growth over the last 3 years as an organization, and to the point where the global expansion is continuing, and we're in a very good position.
Thank you. Hardik?
Thank you for this question. The name, the meaning of Sears is to filter, to refine, to improve, to become better, and that's what Sears means. It's an English word. It means a fine sieve. Our culture has always been to find better ways of doing things and discover better ways of doing things through an iterative approach. One of the quotes that we kind of live by at Sears is we want every piece of our work to be better than our best so far. So there isn't any end to perfection. We are just going to aim for excellence, and it's a mindset of trying to aim for excellence. But there isn't any ultimate excellence that you could say that this is it and now we stop and we are not going to innovate further. We also believe very strongly in the fact that best practices are highly overrated and purple elephants are really awesome.
I love that. Yeah. And I like that idea for aiming for excellence, because the difference between people who are perfectionistic is that they don't want to make mistakes. And the people who are achievement focused know that if they are going to push the envelope, that's part of the process of, achieving this, you're all aiming for excellence. So thank you. So I'd just like to bring it down on a bit of a personal note, because people who are listening perhaps don't have global businesses and maybe don't work for global organizations. However, a lot of the things that you said is, like creating success paths. And, people can do that by just having conversations with people and understanding what it is that they actually need in order to do their best work. The fact that you allow them to experiment or at least, try new things. You've talked about, listening, which I think is an incredible, skill that every leader needs to do. And you celebrate wins, losses, and acknowledgement. So bringing it to a personal level, what's the best advice you have been given that really has, I suppose, determine your leadership style and the way in which you lead others? So Hardik, can we go with you first and then Adrian?
Sure. Expecting that we will always succeed is a myth, and then we have to fail, and that's something that I've learned quite early. I failed hundreds of thousands of times. I was very, very young and very stupid when I started this company. It's been 18 years since then, and not so young, but I continue to make equal number of mistakes. And I believe that one of the best piece of book that I have read is a book by Ben Horowitz, which has tons of advice, not just one piece, but quite a bit of advice. It's called Hard Thing About Hard Things. And it's about building a company, scaling it, working with people, working with customers, and how do we really scale this as we continue to build it. And that's something that I have really been inspired by.
Wonderful. And then, so Hardik, for you, what if someone was to describe your leadership style or the thing that that you build your reputation on, what would that be? What would that quality or attribute be, do you think?
Trust is very, very important. Transformative leadership is what I believe in. I always try and challenge the status quo. We try and question the very basics of things. We try and see if this is really the right thing to do, or can we do something better. And that's something that is ingrained in our way of working. And that's what is the Evlost way of working at Sears. I do believe that earning trust of customers, of partners, of people is also equally important. And that's something that is done when we can continue to say what we do and do what we say. That's something that Sears believes in quite well as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because trust is that combination of the character you have, but also the competence that you bring to it. And I think, that integrity, doing what you say you're going to do, that all of us can just be mindful of. And that's why it's so important, the quality of our communication, that what we say to our team and to customers. So thank you. I've written down that reference to Ben Horowitz. Thank you. I will, put that on my book reading list. Adrian, for you. So what advice have you been given that you bring into your leadership style? And if you were to give leaders, any tip or advice that you think would be worthy to share, what would that be?
3 points. The first, it's a privilege to care for success of others. Build a culture of give rather than take, and you'll transcend boundaries through respect. And the third one is continue your thirst for knowledge to improve for a better tomorrow. So those 3 points are really what I live by. And, with our CS environment, we present a very flat structure. So there's no hierarchy within our organization. Everyone's voice is critically important. And, the respect that we have for each and every employee, whether they're a teammate, whether they sit on the other side of the globe, is about a collaborative effort to, drive for a better tomorrow. So, 3 points for me in terms of leadership would be those particular items.
Right. So I'm just interested. So just say if I'm managing a group of people and we have that culture, however, there is someone who I believe is a little bit of a prickly personality. So they're good at what they do, high confidence, however, the attitude perhaps isn't conducive to this, safe, psychological safe environment. So they might be a little bit oppositional. They always look for the fault rather than perhaps both and a balanced view. Have you been in contact with someone like that, and how have you managed that?
Yeah, certainly. There's always prickly people in every organisation, whether they're part of your team or an extended part of your team. I think from our perspective, it's always about customer first and ensuring that we look for the best possible outcomes for our customers. So that's the first point and call. In regards to tricky situations, it's always challenging. And for me, it's always about a consultative approach to addressing issues. And that may have to be over many, many courses or many pieces of data that you may need to address them on, and maybe over time. So again, critically important to hit the nail on the head up front and not wait for situations to occur. So for me, it's about being open in terms of what's good, what's bad, and what's ugly, and addressing all of those issues as fast as humanly possible in order to ensure that we're delivering the best possible outcomes to our customers.
And Hardik, for you, have you got any input into, like how you have managed those personalities over the years?
Sure. Having a direct, open conversation, creating an environment where people don't need to guess what I'm thinking, but hear what I'm thinking is very, very important. So I do a lot of thinking out loud sessions with people, wherein it's very, very important that we create that kind of an environment, which essentially then allows people to know as to what is valued and what is not. We have a very, very extensive, well-defined culture deck that I have personally written over the last 12 years, and we continue to refine it. I do a monthly onboarding of everybody new who joins into our organization. We are around 1,200 people. So we have around 40 people joining different parts of geographies on a monthly basis. We try and ensure that I personally spend a lot of time in trying to explain the values, the beliefs, and what is valued at Sears and how will you get recognized and what is not valued, and what are the various situations in which you can behave in an X or Y manner. And that's something that allows people to appreciate that level of transparency and have that understanding that this is what is valued, this is what is not valued. And that's something that I feel is a very, very important thing. And by the way, the culture deck that we follow is called Happier. So we have a Happier culture deck, and it is humble, adaptable, positive, passionate, innovative, excellence mindset, and responsible. So that is what Happier stands for. So we have two questions that we generally ask, that has this person been happier in this situation? Has he behaved in a happier fashion? And have we tried to solve this problem? Have we tried to evaluate it? Have we tried to solve it differently? And those are the two questions that is a general part of our conversation. And that's something that makes like, when people are aware what is valued, people try and ensure that they are in a position to behave and act in the right spirit.
Oh, and I love those questions. One is about the people and one is about the process, which obviously you need both. I love the fact that you've got a happier culture deck. We're working with an organization at the moment, creating or helping the leadership team create that culture deck and understanding how do you live your values. But to your point, Hardik, it's actually setting up and being so explicit about what those expectations are. Because, when you talk about culture, it's the shared beliefs and norms, and a lot of it is that, underneath the iceberg, and we want to lower the waterline of the iceberg so everyone is really clear about, what we mean. And I love the fact that you are doing the culture deck. It just has I can imagine such a powerful message about that this is important, that you're spending that time with everyone. This has been such a rich conversation. I have written copious notes, so thank you. I have learnt quite a lot in my time with you. And just the fact that a lot of the points that you made, that everyone, no matter where they are, whether they're working for someone or have their own organisation, can put some of these into place. Just around the importance of, scaling fast, having that excellent mindset, and having some questions that really, I suppose, ground, is what I'm doing helping or harming? Is what I'm doing moving me or the business forward or my customer forward? Those are the things that are really stuck in my mind. So I really appreciate our conversation. So wrapping up, Adrian, do you want to finish off with any comment that you would like to make? And then I'll put it over to you, Hardik.
Look, I think from a leadership perspective, we all need to have awareness about the impact that drives change, not only throughout our organization, but, through to our customers, and also the social impact that we have on the world. So, critically important that everyone has a contribution, everyone's voice is heard, and that culture is everyone's ownership piece, and that leadership is a component of everyone, not just people sitting on the top.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you, Adrian. And Hardik, for you?
Read the book.
Yeah, I'll put a link in our show notes, definitely. Thank you. Look, I really want to reiterate how rich and meaningful this conversation is, because a lot of the work that we do and that we really encourage people to do, you have actually said, but you're actually doing it in your organization. And as you can see, your organization is growing because, you are putting, your purpose and meaning to, create an environment that are not only serving the customers, but the people that you work with. And I really admire organizations who walk their talk, because it's sometimes, there are challenges with that, especially when you're managing diversity, because you're going to have a lot of problems that come up with that. And that's part of that balancing act. So, congratulations for, creating such a healthy impact on the world. We need more of you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the People Leaders Podcast. For show notes and other resources, please visit us at peopleleaderspodcast.com. And while you're there, you can subscribe for future episodes so you can continue your own leadership journey. And please be sure to share this and other episodes with your friends and colleagues. The People Leaders Podcast is brought to you by the Experts on Air Podcast Network.